The British monarchy has weathered wars, abdications, and centuries of political upheaval, but nothing could have prepared the palace for the file that landed on Prince William's desk this week. It wasn't a declaration of war from a foreign nation, but a ghost from the past that threatened to shatter the very foundation of the Windsor dynasty. The media is currently in a frenzy, buzzing with headlines that sound too scandalous to be true, yet the silence from Montecito is deafening. Prince Harry is reportedly rushing a DNA test. London is reeling from a leak that suggests a 23-year-old woman named Lindsay is the secret daughter of Prince Andrew and, shockingly, Meghan Markle. This isn't just another tabloid rumor. This is a potential constitutional crisis that connects the disgraced Duke of York with the Duchess of Sussex in a timeline that dates back to a mysterious summer in 2002. As the public holds its breath, waiting for a denial that hasn't come, the machinery of the palace has begun to turn with terrifying precision. Prince William has made an unprecedented move, freezing assets and locking down funds, while Prince Harry stands on the precipice of losing all faith in the woman he gave up everything for. But behind the closed doors, the truth is far darker than a simple romantic scandal. Is Lindsay a victim of a royal cover-up, or is she the pawn in the most expensive fraud of the century? The answer lies in a burner phone, a shredded diary, and a trap set by the future king himself. Inside the hallowed halls of Kensington Palace, the atmosphere was not one of panic, but of cold, calculated execution. On an antique oak desk, the black file lay in isolation. There was no computer humming, no landline ringing, and certainly no glass of whiskey to dull the senses. Only a deadly silence engulfed the room. Prince William turned the first page, and the image that greeted him was enough to unsettle even the most stoic observer. A large portrait of Lindsay, a 23-year-old woman with large, slightly protruding eyes and a distinctive jawline. The resemblance to Princess Beatrice was uncanny, almost too perfect, as if it were a cruel mockery of nature or a product calculated down to the millimeter. Beside the photo lay a copy of an unverified birth certificate listing the year 2003 with the mother listed as an American citizen and the father's name left blank. Most would have summoned a PR team or a legal crisis unit, but William did not need advice on how to spin this. To him, the validity of Lindsay's existence was irrelevant at this moment. What mattered was the timing. It aligned perfectly with the unexplained gaps in Prince Andrew's 2002 schedule. William picked up his fountain pen, but he didn't sign an investigation order. Instead, he signed an internal administrative document under the authority of the Duchy and Asset Freeze Order. The nib moved decisively across the paper, striking Andrew's name from the beneficiary list of the Private Security Fund and the Royal Expenditure Fund. William knew his uncle better than anyone. Andrew's fatal weakness was not honor. He had lost that commodity long ago. His weakness was money. To force a beast hiding in a dark cave out into the light, you don't send in a negotiator. You cut off the oxygen supply. The document was stamped in red. The order had been issued. The goal was simple: tighten the financial noose until Andrew could no longer breathe, forcing him to speak. Miles away, inside the vast but gloomy royal lodge, Prince Andrew sat before a computer screen, oblivious to the sword hanging over his head. He was attempting to complete the purchase of a rare batch of French wine, a small luxury to soothe his frayed nerves. He entered the details of his coat's black card, a symbol of the financial power he still clung to desperately. He clicked pay. The screen spun for a few seconds, a lifetime in the digital age, before flashing a bright red notification. Transaction declined, account locked due to security request. Andrew frowned, his fleshy fingers tapping hard on the keyboard, assuming it was a glitch. He tried a second card, one linked directly to the family trust, then a third. All declined. Confusion quickly curdled into sheer terror. He grabbed the phone, dialing the bank's priority hotline, a number reserved for the elite. But no operator picked up. There was only an endless dial tone followed by an automated voice message stating the account was under special review. The phone slipped from Andrew's clammy hand, landing on the thick carpet with a dull thud. He understood immediately. This wasn't a banking error. This was punishment. William wasn't holding a trial. He was cutting off life support. But that wasn't the only storm brewing. Across the Atlantic, another household was about to fracture under the weight of this revelation. In Montecito, the air was thick with tension. Harry hurled his phone onto the glass table. The screen cracked, but still displaying the blazing red notification: Kensington Palace officially freezes Prince Andrew's assets to investigate Lindsay. He looked at his wife expecting panic tears, or at least a frantic call to their legal team. Instead, Meghan sat motionless on the sofa, flipping a page of a magazine as indifferently as if she were browsing for curtains. Harry rushed over, snatching the magazine from her hands and throwing it to the floor. He braced his hands on the armrests, leaning his face close to hers, his breathing heavy with rage and confusion. He pointed at the shattered phone, then at her, demanding a reaction. He needed to see the outrage of a mother falsely accused of having an illegitimate child. He needed her to scream, to deny it, to fight back. Meghan simply adjusted her collar. Her face was ice cold, her dry eyes looking straight into Harry's panic with an unsettling void. No tears, no fear. "Silence is the ultimate form of contempt, Harry," she said quietly. She stood up, brushed his hands off her, walked straight to her private room, and locked the door. Harry stood rooted in the middle of the room, staring at his wife's retreating back. This ruthless calmness was not the demeanor of a victim. It was the calculation of someone in complete control. That night, sleep was impossible. Harry bolted up from bed, drenched in cold sweat, his instincts screaming that something was wrong. He walked down the dark corridor, and reaching the door of Meghan's office, he froze. A strip of yellow light spilled from the slightly ajar door, accompanied by the steady, spine-chilling sound of a machine operating. Harry pressed himself against the wall, squinting through the crack. Meghan was standing with her back to him. She wasn't working on a podcast or a script. She was standing in front of an industrial shredder on the table. Harry immediately recognized the object she was destroying, a dark red leather notebook worn at the corners. It was the 2002 diary that Meghan had once claimed was a sacred keepsake from her student days, an inseparable item containing her past memories. She tore handfuls of paper from the spine, her movements decisive and forceful. She didn't reread a single word. She didn't hesitate. She fed them straight into the shredder's mouth. The steel blades crushed the yellowed pages, turning the memories of 2002 into meaningless strips of confetti that fell into the black bin. Harry held his breath, stepping back, gripping the doorframe to keep from collapsing. If Lindsay was a total fraud, why did Meghan have to stay up all night to destroy her own alibi? Why was she wiping away traces of the past? The moment Andrew's name was called, Meghan's actions were as professional and cold as a criminal cleaning up a crime scene. Harry turned, walking quickly back to the bedroom, his heart pounding against his ribs. His absolute trust had just shattered into pieces. But what he would find next would destroy him completely. As soon as Meghan's black Range Rover disappeared behind the iron gates the next morning, Harry acted. He didn't wait for the security patrol to pass. He dashed from the back door of the mansion, crossing the vast lawn to the detached outbuilding at the end of the garden, Meghan's private yoga studio known as the Sanctuary. It was an inviolable space, forbidden even to him. The door was dead-bolted, but Harry didn't waste time looking for a spare key. He took off his jacket, wrapped it tightly around his right elbow, and slammed it hard into the small tempered glass pane next to the handle. The sound of shattering glass rang out sharply in the quiet morning. Harry reached inside, flipped the metal latch, and pushed the door open. The room was heavy with the scent of incense and mystery. Harry began to search. He wasn't gentle. He flipped over stacks of mats dug through wooden drawers and pulled decorative paintings off the walls to check for a wall safe. Nothing. Sweat beaded on his forehead. He stood amidst the chaos, panting, his eyes sweeping across the wooden floor one last time. In the east corner, where a giant monstera plant stood in a heavy ceramic pot, he noticed strange marks. The dust layer at the base of the pot was thinner than in other areas, proving it was moved frequently. The floor tile right at the edge of the pot sat unevenly raised a few millimeters above the surface. Harry stepped forward, using the full strength of his shoulder and back muscles to shove the heavy plant aside. The sound of the ceramic base scraping against the stone floor screeched piercingly. Beneath it, the loose tile was revealed. Harry used his fingernails to pry it up. The tile popped off, revealing a small square hollow carved deep into the reinforced concrete. Nestled in the dark recess was a cold gray metal box, the fireproof kind, usually used for handguns. Harry opened the lid. There was no gun inside. Instead, he found a cheap disposable Nokia brick phone, a burner, and a thick stack of Western Union International money transfer receipts clipped neatly together. Harry's hand trembled as he picked up the phone. He pressed the power button. The screen lit up with a sickly green glow. No password. Meghan's arrogance led her to believe no one would dare violate her private space. He opened the messages. The inbox stored only a single thread with a +44 UK area code. The timestamps matched the news developments of the past few days perfectly. One message read, "The girl is starting to panic. The press is digging too deep into medical records. She's afraid of the blood type issue being exposed." It was sent at 10 a.m. yesterday, right when the birth certificate rumors broke. Meghan's reply was chilling. "Tell her to stick to the script. Don't be afraid. The palace is shaking. We need one more push against Andrew. Talk about the night parties." Harry dropped the phone onto the wooden floor. Nausea rose in his throat. The palace is shaking. The words danced before his eyes. Meghan was not a frightened victim. She was the architect directing this entire play from afar. He bent down, picking up the stack of receipts. Regular monthly transfers. The sender, Archetype Consulting, LLC. A strange name. The recipient, an obscure law firm in London. The amounts were staggering, tens of thousands of US dollars each time. Harry stuffed all the evidence into his jacket pocket. He didn't tidy up the room. He left the chaotic scene as it was a declaration of war. At that same moment in London, a black taxi pulled up abruptly in front of Ferrer and Company, the British royal family's oldest and most prestigious legal representatives. Lindsay stepped out. The 23-year-old no longer looked timid or fearful as seen in the leaked photos. She wore an exquisitely tailored Chanel suit and carried an Hermes Birkin bag, her chin held high in arrogance. Accompanying her was a third-rate lawyer with shifting eyes and a shiny leather briefcase. They did not go through normal security, but demanded to see the senior partner handling Andrew's case immediately. In the solemn oak-paneled meeting room, Lindsay did not sit. She threw a thick file onto the royal lawyer's desk. The sound of paper slapping against the surface cracked like a gunshot. "I'm not here to demand a DNA test," Lindsay declared, her voice cold and steely. "I'm here to offer a solution." Her lawyer slid a draft agreement forward. The first page bore a bold title, Non-Disclosure Agreement and Civil Settlement. The required figure was circled in red on the last page, £20 million. The terms were clear. In exchange for this sum, Lindsay would retract all claims, hand over her mother's original diary, and vanish from the media forever. William's lawyer, a white-haired man with a terrifying calmness, picked up the paper. He didn't read the terms closely. He merely glanced at the number, then let the paper fall back onto the desk with disdain. He didn't argue. He didn't bargain for a lower price. He slowly removed his glasses, looking straight into the eyes of the young girl playing the biggest role of her life. "You've made the wrong move, kid," he said, his voice deep and gravelly. His finger pressed the security alarm button under the desk. Prince William does not pay for silence. He pays for the truth. The meeting room doors burst open, and two massive security officers stepped in, not to arrest them, but to escort them out with the clear message that the negotiation was over before it began. But William wasn't just defending, he was about to go on the offense. At Kensington Palace, William did not sit waiting for Lindsay's next strike. The moment her lawyer left the Ferrer & Co. building, William activated the Special Crisis Unit. These were not PR staff writing press releases. This was a small group of former MI6 officers and forensic accountants, absolutely loyal to the crown, specializing in handling stains that the light of justice could not reach. The strategic room lay deep in the palace basement, completely soundproof. Blue light from a giant LED screen illuminated tense faces. The investigation leader stepped forward. He tapped lightly on a keyboard, and a complex cash flow chart appeared on the big screen, tangled like a spiderweb, but all leading to a single dead end. William stood with his arms crossed, intently following every red line running from the other side of the Atlantic back to London. The investigators zoomed in on the most critical financial link, the source of funds paying for Lindsay's lavish life at Claridge's hotel, and the expensive legal fees over the past 2 weeks. Financial analysis completely refuted the initial hypothesis. The money did not come from any of Prince Andrew's secret accounts. The debt-ridden Duke was truly incapable of paying for a luxury dinner, let alone a media campaign of this scale. The red line on the screen traced the origin backward. Money was transferred from a bank in the Cayman Islands through 3 intermediary companies in Europe, and the original starting point was a state in the U.S. Delaware. Delaware, William muttered, the anonymous haven of shell companies. The investigator turned the next page of the file. The screen displayed the business registration of the remittance company, Archetype Consulting, LLC, a name that sounded professional harmless. The legal registrant was an unknown lawyer in Wilmington, but Williams' intelligence team didn't stop at the administrative shell. They performed digital forensics to trace the IP address executing the transfer orders. The cross-referenced results appeared undeniable. The IP address matched perfectly with the server located at the Sussexes business manager's office in Beverly Hills. Even more damning, the physical mailing address matched the private residence of Doria Ragland, Meghan Markle's biological mother. The room fell silent. The whirring of the projector fan was audible, sounding like a countdown. William picked up the file. The numbers appeared clearly in black and white. May 15th, transferred $50,000. Memo consulting fee for Project L. 2 days before Lindsay appeared in London. May 20th, transferred $100,000. Memo operational and legal costs. William threw the file onto the table. The loud thud made those around him startle. The truth was clear. Meghan Markle was not Lindsay's mother. She was the angel investor of this fraudulent project. This was not a romantic scandal or a love child. This was a ruthless venture capital investment where Meghan put up the capital to hire actors, scripts, and lawyers to attack the British monarchy's reputation. Her goal wasn't just to extort £20 million. She wanted to create chaos. She wanted to prove that royal blood was also filthy and full of scandal, thereby legitimizing her departure and her own victimhood. The plot to bring down the monarchy with a fake heir didn't just fail, it backfired in the most spectacular way possible. Prince William proved that while the crown may be silent, it is never toothless. Prince Andrew, though saved from financial ruin, has been erased from public life a ghost in his own home. And Meghan Markle, the woman who wanted to rewrite history, found out that the truth has a nasty habit of surfacing when you least expect it. The Lindsay scandal will be remembered not as the end of the Windsors, but as the moment the royal family stopped playing nice and started playing to win. But one question remains as Harry returns to a family he betrayed: can a bridge burned with gasoline ever be rebuilt? Or is this just the beginning of a new colder war between the brothers?